Welcome everyone to the DAZN Soccer Show, the best soccer show on the planet. With all the latest news, previews and reviews. And we're going to hear from some of the biggest names in the game as well. Talking about biggest names, we've got a couple of superstars with us this week. Former Arsenal and England forward Lianne Sanderson. And my beloved former Liverpool fullback, Jose Enrique. Guys, how are we?
Good, thank you, Addy. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Lianne. As well. Good to see you as well, Jose. Both of you in fantastic spirits. All right, let's jump straight into it. 10 scheduled Premier League games this weekend. Unfortunately, 3 of those were postponed. 7 went ahead. 7 good games as well. Let's talk about the postponements. Now, these games are going to have to be rescheduled. And we always talk about sort of fixture pile-up, fixture congestion in the lead up to a World Cup. For you guys that have played the game, how difficult is it now to play catch-up with those that have played already?
I think for me personally, whenever I used to go to a game and the game would get cancelled on the way due to the pitches or the fields not being good enough and the rain in England, good old England, I always felt like I had adrenaline and I could never sleep after a game either. So it was a similar feeling. And for me last weekend, I can't even imagine how the players must have felt because all my work got cancelled and I think rightfully so. So I just went to the gym to just let off some steam because you have that same amount of adrenaline. Now, with regards to the fixtures being rescheduled, it's going to be difficult because a lot of those teams are in Europe, Champions League, Europa League, and obviously the World Cup coming up in November, December. It's going to be a lot of fixtures to fit in, but I'm sure they'll find a way. But for me personally, when games got cancelled, I absolutely hated it. I was a nightmare to be around because I had so much steam to let off. And, you can never replicate playing in a match because the adrenaline's pumping as well.
What about yourself, Jose?
I agree. I think it's obviously when you are ready for the game and obviously adrenaline is there and all the sudden they told you it's cancelled. Like Liam was mentioned as well, obviously the teams are playing in Europe with how many games the player play at the moment, that for me is crazy. Obviously for us, as an ex-players or fans as well, obviously it's great because as many games you can see is better because I love to watch football. But for the players at the moment, I think it's too much. And obviously Tolly as well, the owner of Chelsea, he wants to put the All-Star games involved as well. So it's going to be even more games, So it's just crazy. It's too many games, in my opinion.
Too many games, I agree. Let's talk about the games that did happen. Let's start with Spurs-Leicester. Spurs beating Leicester 6-2. Heung-min Son coming off the bench and scoring a ridiculously good hat-trick. And let's talk about Spurs first. Now, at the start of the season, it was supposed to be a 2-horse race between Liverpool and Man City. Spurs, if any of those two slip up, and we've seen Liverpool start to slip already, Spurs are right there, aren't they?
Yeah, I think obviously in the week, losing to Sporting in the Champions League, a lot of the Tottenham fans were not happy about that, but I think Tottenham have definitely progressed. And I think it's unbelievable to think Antonio Conte's only been there for 10 months. If anyone, Spurs fans would have thought they'd have made the Champions League and made the top 4 when he took over, they would have, they'd have been like, what are you talking about? So I think he's done an amazing job. I think with the additions, Richarlison, Bentancur, Kulusevski, I was with them at Juventus, Kulusevski and Bentancur, and they weren't the types of players that would play every minute of every game. But since they came in the January transfer window, and Conte brought in players that he knew, I feel like they were a major, plus. Obviously, Richarlison going there has helped. It looked like he was an absolute genius putting Son on the bench. And then he comes on and gets 3 goals in the space of half an hour. And I saw him do a little shush to the crowd, as if to say, not to the crowd, but to everybody. But the outside noise, I don't even think was really there because for me, Son is one of the best players in the Premier League, probably in the world for me. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. All the Spurs fans love Son.
Jose, let's talk about Leicester City. Bottom of the table, just a 1 point out of 7 games. They've conceded 22 goals, which is, by the way, a record after 7 games. Again, sounds ridiculous considering this is a team that won the FA Cup a couple of years ago. How's it all just gone wrong at Leicester City?
To be honest with you, obviously it's a team that as well, it has something personal, because Brendan is a former manager as well. He's a friend. Actually, I visited him a few years ago before COVID. I went to Leicester as well and met him there as well. So I have a special relationship with him, and I'm really sad to see Leicester going the way they are going at the moment. I think everything is going wrong. I'm not sure what is going to happen. Well, I think we all know what is going to happen before or after if they continue this way. But the other way, receiving 6 goals as well, the way they receive the goals at the moment, I think it's something going on as well. I think Brendan wanted to get rid of some of the key players in the team in the summer. And obviously the club didn't back him up on that. So obviously they stayed. The players know about that. And they're still there. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him to address that dressing room. I think the problem is more inside really than outside. I think the problem is between maybe him and the players that didn't left and the club didn't back him the way he thought they were going to back him up, and that's why they're struggling a lot. And the solution, hopefully I'm wrong, and he stay for a lot longer and they can come back to winning ways, but it doesn't look positive, to be honest.
For me, have completely overachieved in recent years, and almost like their success has become detrimental to them. Winning the FA Cup, winning the Premier League, one of the biggest moments in my life of seeing Leicester City win the Premier League. And that was a long time ago now, but I agree. I love Brendan Rodgers as well. I think he's a top manager, but it doesn't seem to be right. I think losing Kasper Schmeichel is massive. Losing the captain,
100%.
losing in that way, I think it's a massive, void in the dressing room at this moment in time. Fofana, those types of players. I was at the Leicester-Manchester United game the other week, and all of the players just don't look like they're performing to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to come down to probably Brendan maybe even leaving, mutual consent, or whatever it might be, because there's only one player that looks like he's shining right now, and that's James Maddison. Everyone else just looks like they're kind of off the pace, and something's got to give somewhere. And unfortunately, that usually comes down to the manager. But I like Brendan Rodgers a lot, and I think if he does eventually leave Leicester, he won't be out of a job for long.
It's worth pointing out, by the way, that we're filming this on Tuesday. I say this because the time this comes out, Brendan Rodgers could be sacked as Leicester City manager, and I don't think it would surprise anyone, unfortunately, if that happens. Let's move on to one of your former clubs, Arsenal, who beat Brentford 3-0. Arsenal, again, a bit like Spurs. I think if any of the two top clubs slip up, Arsenal could be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. Lianne, how impressed have you been so far with their start?
Arsenal are absolutely flying. And I think at the beginning of the season, a lot of people were saying, they've not come up against this team, they've not come up against that team. They obviously played against Manchester United and lost. But I think sometimes respect needs to be given a little bit more to Arsenal, because Arteta, when he first got the job, I did say, I was questioning him to a certain degree at times, because I feel like he was getting away. A lot of managers were getting critiqued. But now you can see what happens with your patient, and you can see it coming to fruition, the plan, the players that he's brought in, Zinchenko, Jesus, and Tierney, all those types of players. Obviously, Tierney was already there, but he gets injured quite a lot. But I like to see the plan that Arteta's putting in place. Odegaard, unbelievable. Obviously, he's made him captain. Saliba has had this new lease of life. So it looks like everything that Arteta's put in place is finally happening. And against Brentford at the weekend, they were absolutely brilliant. And Brentford this year, I was at the Brentford Community Stadium when they beat Manchester United 4-0, and it was like, they look really, really good. And obviously, Ivan Toney's playing well. Rico Henry's playing well. So Brentford are a good team. And Arsenal obviously lost there last season, the first game of the year. So there's a lot of unfinished business, which I thought was quite funny, because obviously Ivan Toney said, nice kickabout with the boys. And then after the game, Gabriel actually tweeted it was a nice kickabout. So I thought that was quite funny as well.
You've got to love a bit of banter. You've got to. I want to quickly mention Ethan Ranieri, young 15-year-old that made his debut, the youngest player to come on in Premier League history. Jose, look, obviously, it's just the start of his career. Fingers crossed he blossoms and becomes a star for Arsenal in the future. But what a moment. 15 years of age coming on in a Premier League game.
I cannot even imagine at that age. To make it at 19, 20 is already something that you go, wow, unbelievable, no? He's a promising player. But with 15 and already Arteta, what he said as well, that he see him ready. Obviously, he's going to have to prove himself. He's just starting. The most difficult thing, actually, the most difficult part is starting right now, because it's when you are with the first team, they're giving you minutes. Now you have to prove yourself that the manager don't got it wrong. That it happens with a lot of young players, that they have the chance when they are really young and then they cannot continue. That's the most difficult thing, in my opinion. Be consistent, But definitely with 15 and Arteta give him the chance like that, obviously the kid look very, very promising. And you don't know, maybe it's a future star. And I love this as well, that clubs like Arsenal as well, you rely on players that they are with this age as well. And it shows you how good players are out there, And if you are a manager and you don't care about the age of the player, that you shouldn't care, you can see it's an amazing quality players out there. And this one, let's see what happens with him, but it looks very, very promising.
Isn't it amazing? Sitting in probably science class or maths class, but the other day he came on for Arsenal. Isn't that kind of crazy to think? Like, he's 15 years old and he's gone to school today. It's amazing.
It's crazy. I was trying to think of, Liam, what I was doing at 15, and I was probably looking for a summer job in McDonald's. Ethan Ranieri came on for Arsenal against Brentford. Levels to life, I think. Congratulations to Ethan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I made my debut for the first team when I was 14. And I can really relate to that. I know men's football was different, but I scored and I was on Sky Sports News that night. And I remember getting in from the game. It was against Fulham. And I thinking I was on Sky Sports News. And I went to school the next day. And it was the craziest feeling because I said to my mum and dad, actually, can I have the day off school? I'm a footballer now. They're like, absolutely not. So off I went into school.
It's crazy. And good luck to Ethan. Hopefully he gets some more games. Obviously, League Cup games, FA Cup games coming up as well. But 15 years of age, when you're watching this right now, think, what were you doing at 15?